Welcome to the Explainer. Oh man, I am so excited for this one. For decades, we've all operated under this massive, unwritten assumption when it comes to international football. The idea is simple, right? Just field the most purely talented players, let them play their natural game, and you'll eventually lift the World Cup. But what if I told you that in 2026, relying on just pure talent is a guaranteed first-class ticket home? The upcoming tournament is bringing extreme conditions that are going to absolutely shatter the old ways of thinking. We are looking at a complete paradigm shift. And today, we're tearing down the myths.
So what does it actually take to win the World Cup? That's the central mystery we are unpacking today, because the 2026 tournament in North America presents totally unprecedented constraints. We're jumping from 32 to 48 teams, which means a longer path to the final. We're looking at brutal summer heat across multiple climate zones, from Mexico City all the way to Miami. And we're facing heavily compressed recovery schedules. A traditional approach just isn't going to survive this. We need an entirely new blueprint.
Let's just hit the blunt truth right from our sources. The 2026 World Cup will not be decided by talent alone. It's going to be decided by how teams manage space, energy, and adaptation across a tournament that is literally designed to break fixed systems. Teams that stubbornly rely on their old, rigid historical identities, no matter how beautiful their football looks, are going to get destroyed by the format, the heat, and the fatigue.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're looking at 1. The end of pure talent. 2. Data, the ultimate scout. 3. Surviving the 2026 format. 4. Rotation as a weapon. 5. The psychology of penalties. And finally, 6. Adaptation over identity.
All right, part 1. The end of pure talent. The blueprint of a winning squad.
Before we even touch on tactics, what does historical data actually tell us about the physical and organizational makeup of a winning national team? Let's forget the hype for a second and look at the numbers. Data from the 21st group compares successful World Cup teams, so those making the semis and finals, against unsuccessful ones. Take squad age, for example. Winners rely on younger squads, averaging around 26 years and 9 months, closer to their absolute physical peak. Unsuccessful teams tend to hang on to aging stars. What about coach tenure? While successful coaches have usually been there for less than 4 years. Anything over 5 years and the setup just gets stale. And crucially, successful teams build solid defenses first, conceding over 2 fewer goals in the group stages. So it's really about peak physical age, fresh ideas, and a rock-solid foundation.
Moving on to part 2, data, the ultimate scout, building the brain.
So, we know the structural profile, but how do you actually find those perfect peak age players to fit your specific system? You don't just use your gut feeling anymore. You use data. Data scouting is the transition from qualitative observation, just watching a player and writing down notes, to quantitative performance modeling. It allows clubs and national teams to cross-reference massive global databases to find the exact behavioral patterns they need. You aren't just looking for a good striker. You're looking for a striker whose specific metric outputs perfectly match the tactical setup you intend to deploy.
To put that into perspective, this pipeline from a recent archive research paper shows exactly how deep the data goes. Notice how it takes individual player metadata, things like passing, tackling, agility, aggression, and feeds it through a principal component analysis. That's essentially just a mathematical way to filter out the noise and simplify complex data. Then it goes into an entire model's farm. So instead of just looking at historical team win-loss records, this artificial intelligence model processes the really intricate interactions of individual player attributes to predict match winners with vastly higher accuracy than traditional baselines. This right here is the new standard of preparation.
But, and this is a massive but, data without tactical context is highly dangerous. Consider Vedat Muriqi. He was really struggling in Italy, but data analysts at Mallorca saw underlying stats that perfectly fit their highly physical aerial tactical style. He transferred and quickly became their top scorer. On the flip side, Losgro Vinicius went to Almeria with incredible individual stats, but completely failed. Why? Because those stats were generated in a system Almeria didn't play. The takeaway here? Your brain, your data models, must perfectly understand the body they are operating in.
Part 3. Surviving the 2026 format, the physical reality. Which brings us directly to the body of our champion. Because what works in a comfortable domestic club league will absolutely get you eliminated in a 48-team Summer World Cup. The crucial point is the tactical shift between pressing styles. In club football, we've completely idolized the constant high press. But you cannot high press constantly across 7 matches in the sweltering heat of Dallas or Miami with only 72 hours of rest. You will physically collapse.
The 2026 champion will use a trigger press. This means sitting in an energy-conserving, compact mid-block and only launching into explosive, coordinated pressing bursts when a specific trigger occurs, like a bad touch from the opponent. Morocco's unbelievable 2022 defensive masterclass was built entirely on this blueprint, and you can bet every series contender is studying it right now.
Because tournament fatigue literally kills open play creativity, you need other structural necessities to survive. First up, inverted fullbacks. You don't have time to teach complex midfield patterns in a 2-week national camp, so you just move a fullback inside to instantly create a numerical overload. Second, positional flexibility. You need players who can competently play 3 different roles, so you can shift formations without burning a substitution. And third, heavily rehearsed set pieces. When legs are totally dead in the 75th minute of a knockout game, a perfectly rehearsed corner kick becomes your primary, non-negotiable weapon.
Part 4. Rotation as a weapon. Strategic pacing.
Let's dive a bit deeper into the physiology of the tournament. We normally think of squad rotation as a necessary evil to rest tired legs, right? But in 2026, rotation must be used as a highly deliberate tactical weapon. Just consider this staggering number, 7.75. According to research from Frontiers, that is the average number of rested players introduced by the top 4 teams in their 3rd group stage match at the 2018 World Cup. That is almost an entirely new starting 11.
So why does that heavy rotation in Match 3 matter so much for the rest of the tournament? Well, by rotating heavily, the team's core players, the guys who play almost every minute, are able to employ a physiological pacing strategy. The data shows that from Match 2 to Match 4, these core players actually increase their low-intensity running. Why? To conserve energy so they can maintain and even increase their explosive top speeds, hitting over 29 kilometers per hour when it mattered most in the knockout stages. Rotation isn't just about resting. It's about pacing your elite weapons for the moments that decide championships.
Part 5. The psychology of penalties. Controlling the uncontrollable.
Okay, we've built the brain, we've optimized the body, now we must fortify the mind to shatter the persistent, lazy media myth that penalty shootouts are just a random lottery. They are absolutely not. The British Psychological Society has mapped out the exact, evidence-based methods to prevent choking under pressure. Step 1. Take your time. Players who rush the referee's whistle are subconsciously trying to escape the psychological pressure, and that leads to misses. Step 2. Breathe. Elite teams now use biofeedback training to literally lower their heart rates on demand. Step 3. Pick a spot using quiet eye training. This means keeping your final gaze completely locked on your target corner, not on the goalkeeper. And Step 4? Well, Step 4 is so incredibly important, it deserves its own spotlight.
Celebrate. This is one of the stickiest statistics you will ever hear. A team's likelihood of winning the entire shootout skyrockets by 82% if a player simply raises 2 hands above their head to celebrate after scoring. 82%! It triggers a psychological phenomenon called emotional contagion. It floods your own teammates with confidence while simultaneously intimidating the opposition and making them second-guess their own abilities. A shootout isn't a lottery at all. It's a test of self-regulation and psychological dominance.
And finally, Part 6. Adaptation over identity, the ultimate takeaway. So, what does the blueprint of our 2026 World Cup champion truly look like when you synthesize the whole shebang? The data, the tactics, the physiology, and the psychology. Let's look at the heavyweights. Spain, France, and England are all loaded with talent and beautiful core philosophies. But the extreme conditions of 2026 are going to expose specific vulnerabilities in all of them. Spain's possession game leaves them vulnerable to fast defensive transitions. France's individual brilliance struggles to break down disciplined low blocks in the exhausting heat. England's trigger press leaves dangerous transitional seconds if the initial press fails. Every single identity has a fatal flaw when pushed to the absolute physical limit.
And this brings us to our ultimate paradigm shift. Let this sink in for a second. Adaptation beats identity. The 2026 World Cup winner will not be the team with the most stubborn stylistic identity. The winner is going to be the team whose manager can look at a 0-0 game in the 65th minute, realize the original plan is totally broken, and seamlessly adapt. They're going to use data to substitute the right profile, not just the best player. They'll use tactical pacing to ensure their stars have top-end speed left in the tank. And they will have the psychological control to execute rehearsed set pieces and dominate shootouts.
I want to leave you with this final kind of provocative thought. Think about your favorite national team right now. Are they treating the 2026 World Cup as a glorious stage to perform their beautiful, rigid identity? Or are they treating it as a complex, brutal, physiological, and tactical problem that needs to be systematically solved? Because I promise you, the team lifting the trophy in July will be the one that treated it as a problem. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.